What's up everybody, this is Master EN Gamer. Blizzard gave me early access to get to playtest the brand new Overwatch 2 tank hero Ramattra, who I might mention is tremendously fun. So in today's video, I wanted to run through each and every one of his abilities and share my personal thoughts on how they all feel as part of his overall kit, and then talk a bit about how I actually feel about the character overall. Is he strong? Is he weak? There's a bunch of juicy details to talk about, so let's dive right on in. So to start off, we have his primary fire, the Void Accelerator. This is actually a pretty unique weapon in that it fires out these little nanite projectiles, but they're almost like a beam in the way they're actually fired, because they follow a linear path, and you have to sort of lead them a bit in order to hit targets at range that are actually moving. If we have a stationary target like this bot here, it's pretty easy to just, point and click on him, and of course you can headshot, and he does actually deal quite a bit of damage if you land those headshots. So he's potentially a pretty high damage dealer, but I think the sort of counterplay to that is, if we can get this up here bot, you have to sort of lead your shots like that in order to actually hit them. Coming over here to where we have some more moving bots, you can see that you have to sort of lead your shots, especially when shooting at targets at range that are in motion, because there is a travel time on the nanites. They are projectiles. So I think it's going to be pretty difficult to actually hit ranged targets that are in motion, so like especially a Tracer or a Genji, any sort of fast character. It's probably going to be pretty tough to actually take them out as Ramattra with this primary weapon. So certainly it'll be good against stationary targets and probably big targets like tanks and barriers, but as for the little ones, it's probably going to be difficult to actually land your shots. Ramattra's first activated ability is the Void Barrier. So all you have to do is hit your alternate fire button. You'll see the cool little blueprint right here for it. And then boop, pops right up. Got 1000 health and lasts for a total of about 4 seconds. So it's not super long in terms of the duration of the protection it offers, but it is a decent amount to where you can sort of throw it down to get the time to push into a specific location, cover your team if you're trying to push through a choke or something. So it is useful in that regard, but overall is honestly probably one of the weaker barriers we have in game, certainly when it comes to the tank heroes with barriers. One other little detail about this, which I really like, if I can just bring it up right here, is the sort of holographic icon we see for the barrier itself. For those of you who are into Overwatch lore, you may recognize that this is vaguely reminiscent of the Shambali logo, which we see on the Nepal map and a few other various locations, which of course ties back into Ramattra's origins as originally being a Shambali monk. His next activated ability though is Ravenous Vortex. This is where he throws out his little ball of nanites that creates a field that sucks down airborne targets and grounds them to the ground, and also slows and deals a bit of damage to targets trapped within it. Now, as we can see here, it doesn't actually do that much damage to targets trapped within it, and it doesn't last very long. It's only about 3 seconds for its duration, so it's definitely something that you want to time pretty well. Kind of similar to Kiriko's Suzu in a way, I guess, where it's all about timing it and using it at the opportune time, as opposed to something you just throw out willy-nilly. Like, you're really not going to be dealing a lot of damage or getting many kills with this ability. It's mainly used as a sort of like crowd control and area denial type ability in that regard. Now, unfortunately, there wasn't a really good way to show off the grounding effect of it in the practice range. I did go ahead and hop into a custom game and just added a Winston bot and made him leap a bunch to sort of give you a feel for how exactly it works in terms of grounding and slowing enemy targets. As we can see with the Winston, as he tries to leap towards me, the Ravenous Vortex makes it basically impossible for him to get any distance with his leap, because it just immediately sucks him to the ground every time he tries jumping through it. Now, once again, this is an ability which I'm really curious to see how it ends up feeling in practice when playing an actual match against enemy characters like Mercies and Pharahs, who are going to be airborne a lot of the time, because just playing around with it, it doesn't actually feel that strong. Certainly, it has the slow effect, which is good, very similar to Sojourn's Disruptor Shot, but overall, it doesn't seem like that strong of an ability. Again, we'll see how it comes into play with actual airborne targets, but for the moment, I'm really not worried about this being an overpowered ability. Getting on to the main gimmick, so to say, of his kit, he has his Nemesis Form. This is a very fun ability to pop. You get these big arms, you get to throw your punches, each one which sends out a little shockwave that can deal damage to enemy targets, And if I'm being honest, as cool as it feels running around as this big nemesis with your big arms, boom, 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 throwing punches, it doesn't feel that strong. Similar to the Ravenous Vortex, the amount of damage it actually deals out as you're throwing the punches isn't that much. I think it's definitely something that's going to be strongest when the enemy is sort of grouped together and you can get these sort of piercing shots to hit multiple targets at once. But the range on the punches, as you can see here, isn't super long. The amount of damage it deals isn't tremendous. And since there's no knockback on the punches themselves, it kind of just feels like you're dealing meager damage with them. You do also get the block ability, which will reduce incoming frontal damage, but as for just like running around and being a big monstrous enemy, just sort of like beating up the enemy with your punches, I don't think you're actually going to do that much damage. So again, this is another aspect of Ramattra as a character where I'm very curious to actually get to play him in proper matches and see how this form feels, because on paper, having this sort of dual form, the Omnic mode with the Void Accelerator, that's the name, couldn't think of it, and then having the Nemesis form where he throws out the punches like this, I'm almost inclined to say that the Omnic form might be better, because he can deal so much damage with his primary fire, and he'll also have the barrier while in this form, whereas in Nemesis form, it's like, he's a bigger target, so he's probably going to soak up more damage. Is he going to do that much damage by throwing punches? I'm not really sure. I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. Also, just to give you a bit of a better feel for the piercing aspect of it, you can sort of punch at him like that, and as you see, it pierces through both targets there. And as for the range of the punch, it appears to be a distance of about 10 meters when including the shockwave. As you can see, I'm hitting a target that is roughly 10 meters away from here, so that seems to be the range on it, which is pretty decent for a melee-based ability, but, you know, still nothing major. It certainly wouldn't be considered a ranged ability by any means, but it does give you a bit of distance to be able to actually hit enemy targets. And this takes us then to his ultimate ability, Annihilation. Now, as you can see here, I've just popped the ability, which puts you into permanent Nemesis form for the duration of the ultimate, but the duration of the ultimate is bound to whether there are actually targets within the area of its effect. So as you can see on screen in the middle, the little 3 seconds, the ability seems to have a total of 3 seconds to begin with, which rapidly counts down until you start to actually hit an enemy target, at which point the timer pauses and remains paused until there's no more enemies within line of sight in the area of the aura. Now, it's also worth noting that while he is in this form, he does have his basic punches as well. He can also block as well. So he has all of the default Nemesis abilities, including Ravenous Vortex, which I should mention can be used in either Omnic or Nemesis form. But then he also has the damaging nanites that come out of his AoE, which deal a moderate amount of damage. As we can see, I haven't punched this guy at all, and he's dead on that mark. So yeah, I mean, it seems pretty feasible to actually be able to just kill enemies outright without even damaging them just from the ultimate's general aura. But you can, of course, stack with that by punching them as well, throwing some punches, and if they start shooting at you, you can always block. So, definitely a powerful ultimate, I think. I think this is probably where it'll sort of make up for what might be a bit of a weak Nemesis form otherwise. Again, this is all just my thoughts based on playing around with him in the practice range, playing against some bots to get a general feel for his, damage output, how much damage he can take, that sort of thing. But certainly the aspect of the Nemesis form where it just sort of lasts indefinitely until, you aren't in physical or close proximity to any enemies anymore, seems like a pretty powerful aspect. Granted, I am in the practice range right now, and so these bots are just sort of continuously respawning. I don't think in actual matches you're going to get a duration that lasts nearly as long as what I've been showing here, but it does seem pretty powerful, and again, is something which I'm very eager to get to try out in an actual match with other players once the season starts. So there you go, this has been my initial look at the brand new Overwatch 2 tank hero Ramattra. Overall, he feels really fun and cool to play, although I think maybe part of it is just because he sounds so overpowered on paper that I was sort of expecting him to be like really domineering, especially with his Nemesis form. But in actuality, like playtesting him just a little bit here, the Nemesis form doesn't feel that powerful. I will say that I think he's probably going to be a lot stronger in Nemesis form when he has like a speed boost of some kind, whether that be a Lucio or a Kiriko ult, because that'll sort of let him chase down enemy targets more easily and deal that constant damage. Because one of my other concerns is that if you're in Nemesis form trying to throw punches and you have that limited range, a lot of people I think are just going to sort of run away from you and then just poke at you from range where you can't actually hit them. So I guess that's where the Ravenous Vortex comes in. You might be able to slow down targets to prevent them from being able to escape. But overall, I'm kind of curious to see how Nemesis form actually ends up feeling, whether it's something that you're actually going to be able to consistently get a lot of kills with that form, or if it's just more of going to be a distraction type form where it's more about tanking for your team and drawing all the focus fire from the enemy and then letting your teammates deal the actual damage. But as for just playing around, throwing punches, blocking damage and everything, I don't really feel that concerned about him being overpowered. If anything, I almost feel like his Omnic form might be a bit stronger than his Nemesis form just because of how much damage his primary fire deals, plus you get the barrier with it. But I don't know, these have just been my initial thoughts and getting to play test him, so thank you all so much for watching. Definitely let me know your thoughts on him in the comments down below. Maybe you're watching this after the season has already come out and you've gotten to play him for yourself, in which case I'd love to hear what you think of him as well. And on that note, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, hit up that bell icon, and come join my Discord server to hang out and never miss any of my future Overwatch content. Special thanks to my YouTube channel members who help make these videos possible, and if you'd like to join them to earn some cool rewards, then just hit that join button down below. Otherwise, this is Master Ian Gamer signing off, and until next time, have a great day.